Hello everyone, we're continuing our series of talks, Kabbalah Fundamentals. With us in the studio is Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello everyone. And our topic for today, or series of talks that we'll have called Kabbalah in the Contemporary World, we'd like to go over themes like Kabbalah in health, Kabbalah in family, Kabbalah in economics. We're not economists, of course. We won't delve into all the economic problems, but we'll simply look at economics as the reflection of our relations, the same with health and family. Let's start with health. I'll give a short expo. From the Kabbalistic point of view, health means the measure of a person's connection with the general system of nature or the Creator, the measure of connection. And obviously, from here it follows that in order to be healthy, you need to learn about the correct interaction between people and society and balance yourself with the laws of nature, meaning to study them. And this is very identical to what the World Health Organization says. Their definition to health is that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And then they added one more factor, the economic factor. Meaning, if everything is balanced, then health is also balanced. So the lack of physical infirmity doesn't necessarily mean health. And this organization says about health that man's health depends 10% on healthcare, 20% on genetics, 20% on the environment, and 50% lifestyle. So, if we take away our genetics, everything else, healthcare in the country and the environment that influences me, the quality of it, etc., it all depends on society. Meaning the society that I live in completely determines my state of health, excluding, of course, heredity that also has an impact. They say that 32% of the reasons accountable for physical illnesses are different spiritual states like trauma, stress, conflict, etc. I'd like to ask about the reason. How is it all interconnected? Kabbalah practically says the same. Obviously, that if we come to complete balance of man with himself and the environment, both with himself and the surrounding world, with ecology, society, that he'll know how to balance himself and will understand. To understand how to balance yourself means to understand where do all these signals come to him from, that they come from the upper force, general force of nature. If he knows how to balance himself with these forces, obviously he'll all the time feel in balance and in comfort. And then his health, in general, needs to be ideal, as much as it can be, because still, nonetheless, there's also a parameter like heredity. But that, too, can be corrected, actually. And the influence of the environment, even though that to this day, we have not brought our environment into balance, into the right state in relation to us at all. But actually it's possible. Right, if we talk about heredity, suppose were we to invest money in genetics instead of arms, that also depends on society, where do you put the money? We could have actually found all of our distortions in childhood, changed these genes, no problem. Were we to stop spending money on arms and cosmetics, then we would have immediately felt ourselves in heaven, probably like in Norway. These are terrible two parts of spendings that humanity is simply killing itself in order to fulfill them. And of course, therefore, we lack many means in order to really make our life comfortable, successful, etc. Once, I heard you say that there are 3 spheres that need to work harmoniously together: I, society, and nature. There needs to be harmony between them. The first sphere is man, this kind of closed system. We can't look at him as closed from nature and society. So what should be the connection between myself, society, and nature in order to be like nature? Well, if we're talking on the general level of humanity, I'm asking from the point of view of Kabbalah. From the Kabbalistic point of view, on any level, and of course also on the level of our world, there needs to be balance of all factors. Meaning there's nothing harmful or beneficial in nature. All of these factors need to be balanced. Plus and minus, they all need to be in their places and constantly balance each other out. We can't eradicate wolves because then we'll have sick sheep, etc. We see that in nature, everything is based or built on the interaction of two opposites. Thus, both inside of man and in his relationship with the surrounding world and his attitude toward nature and in nature itself and in society, everything needs to be in balance. And we need to learn how to do it. The wisdom of Kabbalah explains, teaches how to do it. It's not simple. For that, first of all, a person internally needs to nonetheless begin to at least generate inside himself this kind of platform of balance, where all of his opposites, good, bad, will all be balanced. He will not eradicate anything in himself, but will only balance it all out, meaning it's a completely different attitude, approach. It means that there are no prisons. Everything is done through education. Education is based on that. There's no good or bad, but only the lack of the correct interaction between all factors, etc. If this is the way that we will start building ourselves from within and outwards, then eventually we'll come to a state where the entire world will truly be comfortable, safe, and healthy. So the first stage of balance is first of all to study our nature. Yes, man as the basis. And according to Kabbalah and other theories too, all of them say that man influences, he as if projects from himself outwards to the surrounding world. And the entire world is a result then of man's inner state, the inner state of people. Well, to be more practical, usually when we teach, we're asked, what do I need to do in order to be healthy? As I understand, Kabbalah doesn't give an answer to what a single individual needs to do. You can't be healthy until you make yourself healthy, and the environment, and maybe even the entire world. So I don't need to think about how should I be healthy, but how to make society healthy. Yes, so much so that there's even this theory, and I see it also in Kabbalah, that the entire world is one gigantic system, where everything that is not balanced in us is reflected, resonates in the stars. What we see in the skies, everything that happens. Why are there such opinions that we can guess what will happen to us according to the sky? Because we influence everything that happens in such a way that afterwards, observing the sky, we can say that this is a result of our states, and therefore, according to this picture, we can read our future states. So man, as the highest manifestation of nature, of the thought of creation, the thought of the Creator, influences the lower forms. Yes. And thus, today we're talking about health. We can reach health only if we will understand the entire system. It is the still, vegetative, animate, and human nature, and also the cosmos, closer, further, meaning everything together. So today we can say that man is in disbalance with society and with nature, and the nature of the Creator is the complete opposite of us, if you can explain what that is. It's complete balance. It's being concerned not with yourself, but with the general balance of nature, where it doesn't matter whether it's I or the system that I exist in, live in, global, cosmic, it is all me. It all influences me, and I influence it all. And thus, if we're saying love another as yourself, express bestowal and love, it simply says, feel that you are an integral part of the entire world. So these are concepts on the level of society, that if we take a living organism, there are two. Each organ has its function, and these organs are very various, and their function, form, heart, liver, but still they work in harmony. This is what it means? Yeah. How will society look like, or what will it look like when people will be in harmony? If we open up a human organism, we'll see an enormous amount of different microbes, living different organisms of different kinds that are doing something all the time between themselves, eating each other up, but by that, they sustain one another. They're against one another, but at the same time help each other by it. Meaning, life is the connection between opposites, the balance between opposites. And this is what we need to try and do in our society. So we can assume that nature made us on the animate level, as an ideal mechanism that can clear itself, clean itself, that's in harmony. And on the level of society, we see that we're in complete disharmony, meaning from the Kabbalistic point of view, we need to do it ourselves. Yes, theoretically it's clear, but how to do it? There, nature does everything. It has a program, all animals, flora, fauna, etc. We don't interfere. We see how everything balances itself out. But we can at least come to the conclusion that it's necessary for us to do it on our conscious levels, on the level of society. And then, throughout the many years of our egoistic development, evolution, we come to the conclusion that we have to also do it in society. Otherwise, we'll bring ourselves to mutual annihilation. And here comes the wisdom of Kabbalah and says, I know how to do it. I know how we can come to balance in society. How can we come to a happy coexistence, even though that we're all different, opposite to each other, big egoists. You don't need to get rid of anything or eradicate it, but to simply find a method for mutual balance. Okay, so we looked at things globally now, but people can't think on a global level, on a global scale, that I now need to change the entire world. Meaning, what we talked about, I think that many will agree to it, until it concerns a person personally. Right. So, when it concerns a person personally, then obviously all of these integral approaches, you understand. As a Kabbalist, I'm asking you, when something hurts, what do I need to do to find out why does it hurt? Why did the Creator send it to me? From the Kabbalistic perspective, how should I relate to the Creator? The inner work, what should it be? Well, I'd put it this way. From the Kabbalistic point of view, how to come out to the level of human balance, social balance, balance between countries, global balance. It's a problem that, first and foremost, we stumble here with the problem of re-education. We need to educate people. Throughout thousands of years of their egoistic life, tried only to eat each other up, kill each other, rule over each other, etc. So, in order to bring society to balance, for that, you need to develop in man and in each of us the opposite quality of bestowal, love that would balance out the quality of the ego, of reception. And here I'm talking about to balance, not to eradicate. And it's possible, because this is the other positive good force exists in nature, simply we don't use it. We, from nature, have only one negative force. But to get the positive force from nature and start developing us ourselves accordingly. This is our task. And this is what is given to man in this world. And the wisdom of Kabbalah speaks about it. Practically, it all comes down to teaching, education, and we need to already start it. That's clear. I'm asking, when a person hurts, he studies Kabbalah, for example, they're listening to this course, Kabbalah Fundamentals, what does a person need to do? He needs to go to the doctors. He can't do anything until society will be in relative balance. Kabbalists, too, and any other people will be sick and will simply comprise a copy of the general cut of the population. And there won't be healthy people, but such and such, different types and kinds, as we will go and develop all the time in our development, economically, technologically, etc. Accordingly, there will be more and more illnesses, and the illnesses will be more and more complicated, complex, because both our technology and society are becoming more interdependent in a complex manner. I know that you took care of the health of your teacher. He was ill a lot because of his age. Yeah, he thought a lot about his health. How did he relate to it? He went to the doctors. Something hurts, you go to the doctors. Yes, and everything that the doctor says, maybe not one doctor, listen to two doctors, but you listen to two doctors. If not, listen to a third one. And from these three, two of them need to give you the manner of conduct of how to behave and heal yourself. There are many systems that say, well, a doctor is a doctor, but you need to bring yourself into harmony. Why run to a doctor immediately? No. If a person feels bad, he feels that he's sick, then he needs to turn to the doctors. Because we're talking about the animate organism, not some kind of psychological problems. And the animal organism needs balance, which we achieve with the help of various external influences. It could be food to increase or decrease. Suppose you decrease sugar or protein or something else in your diet. Exercise is very important. Sleep properly, etc. And if not, then you'll have to take medicine, chemical medicine, in order to balance out the regulation to regulate the heart, etc. So the saying that the doctor was given permission to cure, Kabbalists accept it. Of course they do. It actually comes from Kabbalah, so it says. So I can say the following, that in the past 100 years, there is no doubt that medicine has achieved truly great things. The problem is that we don't see ordinary, normal healthcare. It all turned into a business, and thus it's distorting itself and people don't trust it. So we could have healed ourselves a long time ago. Of course, otherwise we go to the doctors, he prescribes some medicine that maybe we don't need, but the government needs to sell it because otherwise it'll expire. So, unless we change people, this entire egoistic system, and mainly man, then really, right, etc. Meaning, everything that's done is that which is beneficial to the elites and not to the ordinary person. But still, Kabbalah doesn't cancel healthcare, but it simply adds to this broad spectrum the right relationships between people. Right. So suppose something hurts, I go to the doctors, like any other Kabbalist, this I understand. And still, what should be my inner attitude that everything comes from the Creator? I'm talking about a serious illness. Serious, non-serious illnesses, everything of course comes from the Creator. And this too is a way in which the Creator speaks to me. So I need to understand what the Creator wants from me. On the animate level, you need to balance yourself out by changing your diet, taking medicine, even do an operation. Right, that's on the animate level. where I am like any other animal body. But on the human level, I need to come to balance with the Creator. What does that mean? It means to put yourself in a state where I come as close as possible to Him. Coming closer to Him is by the qualities of love and bestowal, rising above your own ego. It's to make yourself, to some extent, similar to the Creator. That's why man is called Adam, from the word Edameh, to be similar to the Creator in Hebrew. Where should this bestowal be expressed in relation to all of humanity? No, in relation to all of humanity, that's impossible. It's unclear and it's hanging in the air. It all needs to be done in a concrete group. Put together a group that wishes to be healthy, that would like to bring themselves to a general state of health as much as possible, and for that group to start working on their connection, balance between them, that by achieving balance in their relations, that it will influence each of them. They need to check to what extent can they be in balance, how much their health improves, their blood pressure balances out, their pulse becomes better, etc., etc. Meaning all of man's main parameters. They achieve a certain optimum weight, starting to feel themselves better, more comfortable. Different natural changes in nature, changes in the environment influence them less. You can put together such a group and test them, examine them accordingly, and from here to draw a conclusion that the wisdom of Kabbalah talks about the right relations between people and the influence of those correct relations on a person's inner state, his inner balance, the balance of all of his chemical, biological qualities, etc. You can examine it all. And then to publish it. So, if I correctly understand, suppose a person is on our course, Kabbalah Fundamentals, and he has a group of peers. They study together several times a day, and one of them became ill. So, first of all, he has to go to the doctors, that's clear. But in the group, he needs to somehow balance himself out with the Creator, meaning to express a quality of love and bestowal toward the other members of the group. Right. And if I correctly understand, that practically means to help them attain the Creator. For all of us together to be in such balance that we will discover the mutual quality of love and bestowal, which is the Creator. So I have nothing to give to a peer in my group besides for him to attain the Creator, because if he'll attain the Creator, everything will work out for him in life. Right. So I don't have to care for 1,000 different desires of his that I can't even fulfill my own, all the more his. Right. So our advice is to go to the doctors and at the same time to a group of Kabbalistic health. And in the group, you need to think about yourself less, about your spiritual development, but about the general, not simply about the other, but about the general. We need to achieve this general balance. And then the group will comprise an ideal organism on the level of society, like a small society, that by their balance will influence each of its members, and by that it'll balance him out on his inner animate level. Okay, suppose we're doing it, but in the meantime it doesn't work, it doesn't help. What then? What does it mean? It means that you're doing it incorrectly. So it needs the help. Yes. Of course, you're in a big broad world that's influencing you, obviously in a very bad way, because it is not in any kind of measure of balance within itself. But still, you can create such a strong, small society of yours that will influence you and at the same time will shield you from the external world, meaning you will be able to influence yourselves. So maybe we're doing everything properly, but we also depend on society in general Yes, but you will be able to be shielded from it, to protect yourselves from it. What's the purpose of the Creator or nature, which are one the same? Why are they sending all of these disturbances in the form of illnesses? What's the difference? It's the closest state to a person's animate body in which he exists in the meantime and associates himself with. And thus, by bringing this balance from the spiritual to the corporeal level, which is like an application, it shows us that we need to perform certain spiritual actions nonetheless in the root, so that in its branch, we will feel correction. So can we say that the Creator created us so vulnerable on purpose in order to influence us? Of course. We're the most vulnerable because there are different, turtles, bugs live for, 300 years. And man, he's so fragile. Right, they're not emotionally connected to the surrounding world because they don't need to be dependent on it and it on them. That's the entire problem. The greater the organization of a certain biological being, the more dependent he is on his surrounding environment, etc. We said that the Creator has a certain program of bringing all of creation, us, people, and the still vegetative animate nature, to bring everything to balance, meaning we need to achieve his degree according to the law of equivalence of form to become like him. I don't know what that is, but that's what's written. And suppose the time has come, and we're already supposed to be on a certain degree of our development, and we're not there yet. Then is it correct that that delta, inconsistency, puts pressure on us, and in our world is already expressed in the form of different psychological problems, maybe earthquakes, on different levels in short. Still vegetative on the animate level, human level, and on the human level it's in the form of different psychological problems, that the main part of our physical problems nowadays are a result of psychological problems, loneliness, stress, etc. So in general, that's correct. So in conclusion, I'd like to draw the following conclusion. If a person has some kind of health problem, on the one hand, he needs to turn to the doctor, and not even to one, but several, in order to get a recommendation, if he has doubts. And the second thing is, if he's in a group, because if he's not in a group, then Kabbalah has no advice for that person. Right. So Kabbalah has advice only for a person who's in a group, and if he doesn't have a group, he needs to find a group of like-minded people, or to come to your group of health. We can call it that way, group for health. Why not? That's really how it is. That is health. General, complex health, where a person balances himself out with a group and achieves inner balance and feels himself in balance with the surrounding nature and world, and everything will be balanced out in him. People can come with high blood pressure, heart problems, whatever, and start working with them. We never conducted such a study, but maybe we should. From the tens, hundreds of thousands of students that you have, you're sure that there will be results? There were many researches where they examined groups of believers, and they conducted these researches there, and they came to these conclusions that a person who's a believer, he has much less of these deviations, meaning probably he has less inner stress, and as a result of that, we already understand also on the physical level how it works. By the way, not only believers, it said that altruists are less sick, right? Not necessarily a certain believer, something. The main thing is that a person has a kind of interaction with something outside of himself. So it's correct, as the great Kabbalist Rabash writes, that all of our problems, regardless which, are related to that we're concerned only with ourselves, meaning that if a person's concerned only with himself, egoistically on all levels, then obviously that's the reason for all of these things. Right, the reason for all illnesses. Don't direct anything towards yourself. So theoretically it's all clear. No, you need to open such courses, explain it to people, and precisely through health issues, we can, so to speak, reach them. They'll be able to hear us and to gradually begin to teach them. So even if a person comes for egoistic reasons, of course, everyone comes for egoistic reasons. So we're opening courses for people who want to reveal the Creator, advance spiritually. That's increased ego. These people simply want to normally exist. So what? But he became convinced that there's no special method for it in the world, and you say that you do have. Okay, so we'll open a course. In the meantime, we're saying goodbye, and until next time, be well. Till our next course that will open on the topic of Kabbalah and health. All the best.